Hello and welcome to our course 636 Overview of Reading Interventions. Thank you all for being so understanding today and so flexible. It was crazy. Right now it's coming down and I'm thinking that elementary is not even dismissed at this point. So thank you for your patience with the many emails that happened to be flying back and forth, and I'm glad that we were able to make that decision. So it's interesting. We have one middle school student. I call you students, teachers, one high school teacher, and also one elementary. So that'll be an interesting combination, and we'll learn from one another in our discussions. So the plan right now is that we will meet next Tuesday at Fountain Green, and that if we can, I'm sure that since Lori is right there, we'll be able to meet earlier. So we should be able to start our class right around 4 o'clock. And I'm thinking that we'll need an hour or so. If you have a lot of questions or pertinent questions that would be for the good of the group, we'll discuss it. If you have other questions, other concerns, then I can stay later and talk to you. So what I'm going to do in this hopefully 5-10 minute video is just go over what you need to do for this week. And then we can stay on schedule and don't have to do that extra week taking us later into May. If you're like me, I'd love to get done sooner than later. And then we'll go over all the assignments next week. This week, I'm just going to ask you to look at assignment 1. That's the only one that's open. And then I will probably this weekend be able to open 2 and 3. I'm still working on slight revisions. So when you go down through the slides, the next one asks you to introduce yourself. And I had asked you to share something, bring a book, do all of that in our class. So we'll do this next week, introducing ourselves. You don't need to do this online. And our objectives for this class, we will look at some of the course expectations and assignments, as I said, but not all of them. We're going to talk about why do children experience reading problems. Probably you know the answer to that, or at least you know some of the answer. And we'll look a little bit at the historical perspective of reading in the United States and think about the reading process and how a young student, how one learns to read. And then you'll have an opportunity to go through Gene Chow's or Aries, I don't even know how to say his name. They're different stages. Gene has stages of reading development, and the other guy has phases of word learning. And so you're just going to go online, do a little research, find something out. Let me switch gears, and I'm going to go to the course activity or the activities that you'll be doing each week. So hang on just a second and let me switch gears. One, you will see this sheet with the directions for the week, the learning journal questions, prompts that you will be addressing. And then at the bottom, I have all the topics we're discussing and text. Sometimes I change these, revise. I see that everyone knows a lot about a specific subject. So in the next session, if we were going to delve a little bit deeper, I might change that. So normally you will not see these posted. You won't have access to it until the week before. And I'm asking you, and from what I understand, Goucher, when we do more of the online, requires that we stay week by week. So don't work ahead. If you want to work ahead, great, save it, keep it, and then post it the week that it's due. Certainly, I don't mind posting a few days early, but not weeks in advance or working ahead. So if you look at this, and I'm not going to read it to you, but each week there's a PowerPoint where we call that, that would be my lecture if we were meeting face-to-face. But since there are only 3, we are allowed to do it in this computer or online network. But you'll still view the PowerPoint, and you will view that however you want to. Some people like to have the hard copy. Some of you may want to just go through it. And then there'll be some prompts, as I said. Sometimes I just ask you to reflect, give you a specific question, ask you to think about something. And then you'll answer those, and we'll go down and look at those in a few minutes. And there is a discussion link right on Canvas in each session. So in week 1, you'll click on that, submit your learning journal. Again, you can do this all offline in a Word document and then copy and paste it into the discussion forum where we can all read it. Once you've posted yours, then you can read other people's. And since there's only 3, you'll respond to both of your colleagues' posts. And those are due, if you see down here, your initial post is due by midnight on Saturday. Even though our class is officially Tuesdays, I know you're in the classroom, you're busy. I remember that. I'm not too far removed, and I'm back in the classroom as of a week and a half. I will be long-term subbing at Forest Hill Elementary for the reading specialist who's retiring. So I'll be in that position for the rest of the year. But anyway, I'm totally with you. I understand. You'll post your initial response by Saturday. Now, it will be open all week. You can post it anytime you want. As soon as you post, then you'll be able to see if one of the other classmates have also posted, and then you can respond to those colleagues by Sunday at midnight. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have your assignments due on Sunday. So you have 3 assignments throughout the course, and those are usually always due on Sunday at midnight. After next week's session, there'll be an overview video for you to view for each class session, and I'll try to give you any updates, answer any questions that I think might arise for that week when you're working on your assignments or your activity. Oh, listen, I wasn't even going to come to class. I had to show you my fingernails. I haven't done my nails in weeks, and all of a sudden I thought, oh, I'm going to meet my class. I should do my fingernails. And now, all for naught. You won't get to see them next week. They'll be a mess. I've been so busy working on this course, and I'm teaching another one completely online, and Goucher is under the mandate to do all of the reading courses online so that everyone will have that option. Anyway, back to our weekly directions and journal. And so I will have a brief overview in a video anywhere from 3 to 5, hopefully not more than 7 or 8 minutes each week for you to view and use to help you to understand. So, whoops, let me just go through. So in the reading journal, for instance, when you do this week's, on slide 5, I have discuss what you know and want to learn about reading interventions. And then your first assignment is going to begin with this list. You're going to begin a list of reasons your students experience reading difficulties. Before you read any further or do any research, list as many as you can. This is your brainstormed list. Bring it next week, and we'll talk a little bit about it also. And then you're going to read an article, and that's on slide 9. All of your articles, all of your reading and text and journal articles will be posted on Canvas, so you didn't need to purchase a book. There are some suggested readings on the syllabus that we'll look at in a few minutes, but you don't really need those. And then when you get to, for instance, number 4, in our reading journal for this week, slide 11, there is a 9-minute video on the history of reading instruction. I thought I could do lots of slides giving you that background, but then I thought, let's look at a video, let's see what is out there. And it was kind of interesting as I viewed this video about the reading history. I thought it was pretty accurate, but it ends in 2012. So we're already in 2018, quite a few years past that. So my question for you to address in this prompt is, what would you add to this historical summary? Where are we now with Common Core and Maryland State Standards and all of that? So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but that is you can see there are 11 prompts on this one. Sometimes there's more, sometimes less. And then there are the topics for each session. And then the reading text are at the bottom. And again, as I said, they're on Canvas. So let me switch gears and we'll look at our syllabus and finish up for this session. Syllabus, you can see all the information at the top. You all know my email address, but if there's ever an emergency, something you need to speak to me immediately about, I have my home phone number, which is the best way to contact me for emergencies. I do have my cell, which I don't always have on, I'll be honest, and don't always look at if I'm not traveling, and I'm just one of those people that does not have her cell on all the time as others. And as I said, next week we'll meet at Fountain Green. All of those objectives, course objectives, the required reading, suggested reading. I will tell you, if you haven't read Richard Allington's book, What Really Matters for Struggling Readers, you want to read it. This is a great book, a great text with many tips for you as a teacher, and especially those of you that are looking at reading specialists. So let's take a minute. If you're like me, when you start a course, you want to know what are the requirements. So we've already mentioned number one with looking at those and doing that each week. And then the assignments, and I'm just going to talk briefly about the second and third one. We'll look a little bit more deeply at them next week. But assignment one is the causality of reading problems or causes of reading difficulty. So you're going to the part one, you're going to do that brainstorm list. And the rubric is also open on Canvas, and more details about this assignment you can look at, and we'll look at the others, as I said, next week. So make the list, make brainstorm this week at some point, and bring that next week to class. And then you're going to revise your brainstorm list with some hopefully great new ideas from what you're learning in class as well as what you're reading about. And then in part two, I'm asking you to interview at least 4 teachers in your building or friends of yours that would hopefully give you some good ideas to add to your list of causes of reading difficulty. I know that those of you in high school and middle school may not have a reading specialist, then certainly get with your English teachers, or if you have someone working in the building like Anne Marie Seltzer, you might interview her. And then thirdly, in this first assignment, you're going to explain how you observe the ideas about causality with your students, and you're going to show, think about a small group of students or an individual student with whom you work or have worked in the past, and show some specifics about how they demonstrate these causes and what causes them to have a reading difficulty in their school and in their lives. So that's the first assignment. The second assignment, you're going to be selecting an intervention. Since this is an intervention geared course, we know that normally if you're taking or working on your reading specialist or taking a course in reading, some kind of a reading practicum, you usually have to design an intervention plan or an assistance plan, whatever your school calls it, using a diagnostic profile. So I'm going to ask you to develop a list of do's and don'ts for designing like the perfect program, the perfect intervention plan, and for your school, for your class, for your grade level, you decide, and then choosing those appropriate interventions. And so we'll talk, as I said, more next week. And then your last one is you're going to choose an intervention program and you're going to evaluate it. Throughout the course, I'm going to give you some suggestions of ideas for some of those programs. So more about all that later. In your grade, assignment 1 and 2 are both worth 20% of your grade or 40 points. Assignment 3 is 30%, 60 points. And then participation and attendance, which will be basically handing in your journals and discussion on time and your assignments, but also fulfilling those responsibilities of the journal each week will be also 30%. And then on this page just has the topics and assignments due, and you can see that your third assignment will be due April the 3rd. And I think it's a pretty easy one. There will be a place for you to submit it on Canvas, which we'll talk about more in detail next week. So that gives you an overview. And I'm not going to this week go over all of the materials. Let me just switch gears. I want to show you. And I know that you all have looked at Canvas, but when we look at the whole homepage, this is what I call the homepage, you're going to be working each week. So if you look at the left side, I call this the breadcrumb up top. And usually when I want to go from thing to thing, I'll click on this. And then if I haven't saved something, like if you've entered your journal or your discussion, but you forgot to save it, forgot to go down and save it, it'll say, do you really want to leave this page? So I love that. You can also arrow back at the top of your screen. This is your left sidebar, which has the things that are important. And I'm hoping that it works out that you can look at your grade. If not, I will be grading your assignments and submitting those to you so that you know what you received. But you can see this first section about the course and welcome. So go ahead and make yourself familiar if you have not already with those. And then as we look at the general resources, these are some things that might be important for you in either using the Canvas or APA format, that type of thing, if you haven't taken a course in a while. And then on mine, you can see I have all the assignments, but I'm still working on revising and editing. So assignment 1 is the only one that's published. Also, if you ever go on Canvas and something should be there and it's not, just send me a quick email and I will go and make sure that it's open. Every once in a while, some fluke or something happens, or I do it and I click out, because if I click on this, then all of a sudden I can unpublish that. And so go ahead this week, look closely at assignment 1, and then your next whole big section that you're looking at is session 1. So I've already showed you what that looks like, but go through that. This is just a folder that has all the materials. This is your PowerPoint. This is where you're going to go on and do your discussion and your learning journal. And these are the articles. You'll be reading this article, learning about learning to read. And then there are 2 historical articles, and choose one of those to read and respond to in your journal. So that concludes our overview for today, our snowy Tuesday, March the 20th. And thank you again for your flexibility. I will meet with you all next week, Tuesday at Fountain Green, and probably send you just a reminder email or anything I think of right before we meet or sometime on the weekend. All right, thank you and have a great evening.